back in 2020, if you cast your mind back to that unusual year, there was a BLM demo in St. Andrew's Square, which is the big square opposite Charlotte Square at the end of George Street. And there's a massive monument there, a massive pillar to Henry Dundas, who was a great Scotsman and a Great Britain and a great British parliamentarian. And he was definitely a slavery abolitionist, although the BLM people tried to twist his legacy and suggest that he was responsible for slavery being extended, when in fact what he was trying to do was to get it he was trying to get through his policy to abolish it through the House of Lords, but it was the House of Lords that kept preventing him from doing that. But there's no doubt, for those of us who are concerned about the truth, that he was an abolitionist. Anyway, the BLM people there came along. Not very many of them, to be frank. It was hardly more than 100. Came along to basically dump on his memory. And so we had about 40 people there to uphold his memory and his honour, as it were. And I give 3 speeches on that day. And one of them is called the Dundas Declaration. And it's on our website. And we'll put the link up in the threads. And during the Dundas Declaration that I made, I called for a monument in Scotland to commemorate the sailors of the Royal Navy who fought to free the slaves. And this is what I said word for word. I was addressing the protesters across from us, and I said, we ask the reasonable protesters here today to support a force for good's idea, which is to establish a monument in Scotland to commemorate and esteem the sailors of the British Royal Navy who, from 1807 to the end of the 19th century, sacrificed their lives as they patrolled the high seas to stop the practice of slavery. I went on. According to historian Anthony Sullivan in his book Britain's War Against the Slave Trade, the operations of the Royal Navy's West African Squadron, 1807 to 1867. According to that book, more than 1,500 Royal Navy sailors died of disease or were killed in action, and they captured 1,600 slave ships and freed 150,000 Africans. Today, we should have a way to remember the sailors of the British Royal Navy who patrolled the oceans and who fought and died to stop the practice of slavery. That is a positive goal to which a Force for Good will continue to campaign, and so why not join us in that constructive goal? Well, I was being quite optimistic there with my last sentence, no doubt, but the message would get through to those who had ears to listen. And lo and behold, this week we learned that there is going to be such a monument in not Scotland, but in Portsmouth, which was and is a big centre of the Royal Navy. And we've got an article here that appeared in the Daily Mail on Saturday. Let's build a memorial to Navy's slave trade busters, says Commons leader Penny Mordaunt, who warns truth is in danger of being lost forever. And that points out that there is a plan to build one in Portsmouth, and she writes an article there, Why We Must Not Allow Our History to Be Rewritten. And so that's fantastic news, I have to say. And they're trying to they want it to be by public subscription, which is to say by people who simply want to donate to it. And so they've got a crowdfunder running at justgiving.com/crowdfunding/West African Squadron. And they need to raise 70,000. Okay. And I notice that a philanthropist person has committed to put up 25,000 as well. Here we go. That's Lord Ashcroft pledges 25k for memorial to Navy slave trade busters. So with his 25k, and I think there's 13,000 already up there, they're certainly halfway to their goal. And so I would like to think that our idea, which we had never heard of before, which to our knowledge nobody had ever promoted before, until we promoted it back on the 20th of June 2020 publicly and advertised it ever since, we would like to think that we've had some sort of role in encouraging this to happen. And so that's some good news. And of course that's in Portsmouth, and the more monuments, the merrier. The more memorials, the merrier. And let's get one in Scotland as well, and let's keep campaigning for this, because that's a good way to push back against those who simply want to dump on our history. And it's a good way, memorials are always a good way as well of raising an issue and getting people to say, well, what's that about then? And looking into it and keeping issues alive in the public consciousness. Whatever one may think about any particular statue or memorial, it's a great way into learning about the past. And then you can take that whatever way you want to take it, whether you like it or don't like it,